Brad, Lockie in a bit of doubt with head knock last week. Do you expect him to play?
Oh, well, a doctor just grabbed me as we walked out to confirm that he's in no doubt. I mean, he passed all his tests at the ground, but we decided to sub him because we wanted to make the sub anyway. So as it turns out, technically he would have been right to come back on, but we chose to be very cautious with him, and he's going to be available this week for selection. He'll train today and there's no problem.
He's had a number of concussions though. Is there any concern about the way he's going down? He looked like he went down before he even hit the ground on the week.
Yeah, well, he put his arm out to brace himself. When you get knocked out, you generally don't brace yourself at all. You just hit the ground, and so he was aware of everything. He could recount the incident, exactly what happened, and it definitely dazed him. So that was the reason for our caution. And I think with any player who's had multiple head knocks over a period of years, you're going to be more cautious with them. We'll never do anything to jeopardise his long-term health and safety. And if the doctor's in any doubt, he won't play. But the doctor is convinced that he's okay.
What's the word generally on the injury front, Brad? How are you getting any relief there?
Slowly but surely. I mean, we Wells, Grimer, McMillan all had follow-up scans again today just to track their progress. They've had multiple checkups all through their recovery, and they're all trending in the right direction. We think that they'll all be very close to being available pretty soon after the bye. None of those three will play this week, but with the bye next week, that gives them another week, and then they're coming back into the frame to joining full training, and then we'll have to assess their match fitness, training fitness after that. So it looks like there's upside for us on the injury front at this stage.
And Jack Siebel, Brad, are you expecting he'll be arrived this week?
Yeah, he'll train fully today, and he'll need to. We're anticipating that he'll be available for selection. That's the indication our medical staff have given us. But again, we'll have to see how well he trains, and we don't want to bring him back in if he's not going to be playing close to his best. So we'll make that decision once the medicos give him the final tick off, just how well he trains and how well we think he's prepared to play a really good game of footy.
How much of the recent results of, the Pies and the Suns given you a chance to really lock down a 5-6 position or possibly even higher?
To be honest, I don't look to. We take a glass half full approach, and we probably take more notice of the results that are happening of teams above us on the ladder. But I mean, even then, it's a cursory glance. I mean, I still don't regard us as a genuine contender with the top 5 or 6 sides, and we've still got some improvement. But I'm really optimistic that if we produce our best on a regular basis for the next 6 games, we're going to be pushing those good sides, and we've done that throughout the year, but we haven't done it consistently. So this week's another good opportunity against a side with top line players in it to show that we can compete against really good players and against really good teams.
The danger team, Carlton, I mean, they're so competitive against the premiership favourites for a half and then so bad for another half. It makes them a volatile sort of team to play.
I think their capability is there for all to see. I mean, Walker's going to be a loss for them, but I look at their defence and think Tui and Simpson and Yarran, the elite players. Midfield, no one could argue with Judd, Murphy, Gibbs, those types, and Henderson, Casbolt is as strong a mark as anyone in the competition. So that they're an obvious danger, and if we allow them to play at their best, they're going to be very, very hard to stop. So they pushed. Arguably should have beaten Geelong on a Friday night a few weeks ago, and then pushed Hawthorn all the way. So, at their best, like every team in the competition, they're going to be hard to stop.
You said you don't think you're a contender. Is that a bit of a pessimistic view to take, given you've knocked over each of the top 4 sides?
Well, I mean, in terms of playing well against the best, we've shown we can do that, but good sides don't have the drop-offs that we've had. So, I think that if you're going to be regarded as a really good side and a genuine contender, you've got to show that on a consistent basis. And we've got a really great opportunity for the next 6 weeks to show that. So right at the moment, I would argue and say that, no, we're not in that top bracket. And a ladder position reflects that as well. But we can rectify that in the next 6 weeks.
So do you believe you can become a contender in the next 6 weeks, or is that too short a time?
No, time will tell. I mean, I think that I've just mentioned Carlton, that they've got they're really well coached and they've got a lot of great players. So, everyone's capable. So it's going to be, the execution and it's going to be there for everyone to see over the next 6 weeks.
Cameron Ling in the media this week, prospects as a senior coach. What do you think of his capabilities of the potential of being a senior coach in the future?
All his character traits, and he's very strong in his opinions. Been terrific working with our leadership group this year, and I think he's got a lot of the characteristics that make up a potential coaching candidate. Probably not grumpy enough just yet, but that'll come from a bit of experience in the chair. But look, he's an outstanding person. He would be the first to admit, though, that coaching is not something that ex-players just fall into. Coaching is something you've got to learn. Coaching's a profession. You don't just automatically get the right to be a good coach because you've been a very good player. There's a lot to learn to be a coach, and Lingy's well aware of that. But in terms of the character traits that good coaches possess, Lingy has most of them.
So do you agree with Paul Roos that perhaps they need to do an apprenticeship first as an assistant, or can you go straight into that?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, and I couldn't have taken a senior coaching position without experience at Collingwood that I had as an assistant coach. I think it's absolutely vital. But that's up to each club's individual board to make those decisions.
You better sign him up though, Brad. There's a few prospectors trying to grab him.
Yeah, we're trying. We'll do our best. But ultimately we'll put forward an option which is, we think, a really good opportunity for Lingy. But ultimately he'll have to make the decision that's in his best interest. So that'll be a decision, I think, that'll unfold in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
So have you made an offer to him though? Is that what you're saying, or?
No, we've spoken to him about his coaching opportunities and a potential opportunity that may exist with us. We've got to really. We made some changes to our coaching staff last year, but we're always looking to improve. Ideally, we'd like to add, not subtract, or not lose one to gain one. So we'll just talk to him about his opportunities, and that'll either be a really good fit for us and a really good fit for him, or he'll look elsewhere. But I think he's in a great position where he's got a lot of options.
Man, you've been coaching. The man you're coaching against on Friday night's been under the pump the last 72 hours. Welcome distraction for an opposition coach?
Oh, you couldn't have anyone with more experience, and he's if he's under the pump, I doubt he feels under the pump. I think he just takes it all in his stride. He's been doing this for a very, very long time and doing it very successfully, so he'll have his eye right on the ball Friday night.
Spotlight on him unfair?
Oh, I think he draws a lot of attention because of his standing in the game and his experience. But look, I understand the focus on coaches. I personally wish the focus was more on players and footy itself. But I'm ambivalent, really. I don't really mind.
Do you mean that is the coverage of the whole, or actually match coverage, which I think Mick was talking about last week?
I think a bit of both. I think I think we'd all. I'm the first to say that the players are the stars of our game. Keep the cameras on them. They're the ones that play. Coaches just try and help them. But I don't really have a really strong view either way. I think Mick's got a pretty strong view that it's a bit invasive. But from my perspective, I don't change my emotion, as you can probably tell, whether the cameras are on me or not. I coach the way that my emotions come through. I think I coached my best when I'm doing that. So what the broadcasters choose to show or not doesn't worry me one bit.
The 1 point loss in the corresponding clash last year, how much did that hurt at the time, and is it something that gets raised this week at all?
No, it hasn't been raised this week at all. Any 1 point loss hurts, but that 1 point loss was compounded by probably about the 6th or 7th close loss that year. So, they're always gut-wrenching, but the only thing we look back at last year is how some matchups worked and what worked for us and what didn't. But the result hasn't been spoken about.
Just on Cameron Ling again, Brad, do you think he's ready to or wants to step into coaching full-time next year?
I think that's a question best left for him to answer. I can only speak to what I observe with Lingy and the character traits that he possesses. And I think that he's got a lot of the character traits that good coaches have. So if he was to ask my advice, should I step into coaching next year? I'd say, well, you've got to find out at some point, because you've got to work out two things really quickly. One is whether you have a genuine love for it, because you can't do this job unless you genuinely love it. And the second one is whether you're any good at it. And you'll never know until you have a go.
And the role you're looking at for him next year, would that be a full-time position?
Oh, look, I'm a big believer in the pure coaching roles. So obviously senior coaching, assistant coaches, development coaches, they have to be full time. You know, they're too hard to do part time, and you have to be fully invested or not do it at all, in my view.
What did you get out of Monday night?
Oh, a hell of a lot. I thought it was just a fantastic informal gathering of a lot of really smart thinkers of the game. I mean, I thought it was a great initiative from Gil and just a great gesture to all the coaching group and his wife Laura as well to take the kids for the night and open up their home. I think it was just really appreciated by the coaches, and that augurs really well for a great relationship between clubs, coaches and the AFL in the future.
After the game last Saturday, you said that Lee Adams had a sore knee. Have you had to look at that any further since?
Yeah, really pleased the way it's recovered. I was a bit concerned about it because, again, we didn't put him back on in the last quarter, so we had Hansen and Adams off. But he'll train fully today, so that's a really great result for us.
Nick Maxwell expected to announce his retirement today, Brad. Your thoughts on him as a player and a leader?
Yeah, he's been an outstanding leader. I hope we're not talking prematurely. I think he hasn't retired yet, but if it's this year, if it's years in the future, I mean, he's a great example to a lot of players who show the ultimate professionalism, fantastic leadership. He was absolutely exemplary the way he led Collingwood when I was an assistant coach there. I saw him firsthand really take control of that group, and Nick would be the first to say not necessarily Collingwood's best player over the last decade, but he can put a fair argument up to say he's been their best leader.
Thanks,